So if you're here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in the process of transitioning from late winter into early spring. And depending on where you're located, you may be seeing more or maybe not quite as many signs of spring already. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how we might use an Ayurvedic perspective and use this ancient medical science to help inform how we do our yoga practice in order to bring a little more balance to our bodies and minds at this time of year. There's a couple of things that are really important to say first. One is that in Ayurveda, we don't look so much at the calendar, we look at what's happening in the world around us. So we're going to look at the weather in your particular part of the world at this particular moment in time. And if what you're seeing outside isn't really matching the kinds of things that we often see in springtime, then it may be not quite the right practice for you. The other thing that is important is this is very generalized information. It's not intended to be specific to any individual, and it definitely isn't medical advice. And so you may find that the suggestions that I'm making are not completely appropriate for you, or that you need some adaptation to figure out how those practices can work really well to support you. And so in that case, it's always good to reach out to someone who can give you a little bit more one-on-one advice. And the most important thing, I think, is to really listen to your body, listen to your mind, trust what you feel inside. And if something doesn't feel right, it's not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong. It just means that the practice that you're doing is not a great fit for where you're at. And so you can always skip that practice or figure out how to adapt it to be a better fit. And that's one of the things that Ayurveda is really good at helping us figure out how to do. So late winter, early spring is wet in a lot of places, might be mud season. There might be kind of a lot of stickiness and stuckness happening, maybe a sense of heaviness. And maybe still quite cold in a lot of places. You might be dealing with some congestion, maybe a little bit of lethargy or even depression or feeling of dullness, right? These are all sort of features of this time of year in a lot of places and for a lot of people. And so this might be a really good time of year for your yoga practice to have a little bit more movement and to be a little bit more warming for you. And that's not to say it has to be vinyasa flow or hot yoga. It doesn't need to be really vigorous. But if there are practices that you know bring a little bit more warmth into your body or into your heart, right? So we could do types of meditation that are loving to help bring that warmth into our emotions as well as into the body. You could do movement that is still slow and gentle, but that gets your whole body moving. And we also can focus on being a little bit lighter in our practice. So you might want to bring your gaze up instead of down. You might want to focus on parts of the body that lift up, maybe lifting the hands and arms, instead of being so focused on dropping down into the feet for this time of year. There's lots more that we can say about that, but that's just a few ideas to think about to kind of get you started as you're figuring out how you might adapt your practice to help you feel really good and balanced. I hope that you have a very balanced and wonderful spring.